The ministry of Jesus is about humanity experiencing the transformation of human helplessness and hopelessness through personal encounter with God. Jesus cured the sick people who were brought to him. He expelled demons from the possessed. He went out to preach the good news of hope to the poor. We see such personal involvement in today's gospel as Jesus cures Simon's ill mother-in-law. He approached, grasped her hand, and helped her up. Raised her up would be a better translation. To be raised up is resurrection language. Jesus raised Simon's mother-in-law to new life. She, in turn, waits on them, or a better translation is, she ministers to them. Jesus not only healed Simon's mother-in-law, he raised her up to discipleship. When Jesus touches us, when Jesus raises us up to new life, his touch transforms us into a people of loving service. As we hold on to the hand that rescues us from our illnesses, our sicknesses, our debilitations, we respond by loving service, by serving the Lord's presence in others. We see people all around us today who need healing, who are suffering, who are possessed by personal demons. We see people who are helpless in the face of abject poverty, of life-changing diagnoses, of divorce, of a family member who dies of an overdose. We see people who are discouraged, frustrated, and hopeless. What Jesus did must be the keynote of our own ministry to the Jobs of today. We are called upon to repeat these actions of Jesus. Where we find sickness, we can offer healing in some form. It's unlikely we will ever encounter an individual as unfortunate as the Old Testament figure Job. Job had lost all of his possessions, his children had been killed, his body was covered with loathsome sores from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. He knew the feelings of misery, hopelessness, and depression. That is why in today's first reading, he describes his days as drudgery and his nights as dragging on, and he envisions his life as ending soon without hope. I shall not see happiness again. Now, when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that had come upon him, they came to comfort him. The Bible narrative continues. And when they saw him from a distance, they did not recognize him. And they raised their voices and wept, and tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their head toward heaven. And they sat with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his suffering was very great. Finally, one friend breaks the silence. If one ventures a word with you, will you be offended? But who can keep from speaking? Well, sometimes not speaking can be the wise choice. The friends begin to speculate on how sin and suffering are connected, and suggest to Job that his suffering is a punishment for his sins. We must give Job's friends credit for being there, for spending time with him, and for letting him know that they cared. What we can't credit is the clumsy pastoral care that ensued as they talk too much. This is all we have to do for a friend who is hurting. Offer a hug or a simple "I'm sorry," and just stay around. Though this sounds easy, it can be very hard. We can feel so helpless. We need to keep in mind that what matters most is that we are there. Yet, many of us shy away from funerals and hospitals because we just don't know what to say or how to act. That was me. I just didn't know what to say or how to act in the presence of people who were helpless and hurting. That was me before I enrolled in Formation for Ministry. The goal of this diocesan program is to develop in adult students a foundation of knowledge of church teachings as well as skills for ministry, so people are prepared to go out and serve the church and share the gospel, says the program's Associate Director, Eileen Zierbowski, whose office is right across the street. Formation for Ministry is a 2.5-year program starting each fall of education, ministerial training, field experience, and spiritual preparation of adult Catholic women and men, leading to certification in a specialized area and commissioning by the bishop. For me, pastoral care was a most engaging course. I remember Diane Salentano was the instructor. We heard the best things to say to someone depressed. I care what's happening to you. You are not alone in this. I'm sorry you're in so much pain. I don't know exactly what you're feeling, but I am here for you. And we learned the 3 categorical imperatives for a hospital visit. Always ask for permission when you enter the room, even if the door is open. Never sit on the patient's bed, even if invited to do so. And if you are giving communion to a patient in an oxygen tent, don't light a candle first. God hears suffering and heals the brokenhearted. This is the mission of Jesus, his disciples, and his followers. This is our mission. Formation for Ministry can help. Informational meetings will start this spring. Watch the bulletin for dates. Soon, we will be touched and raised up by the Lord when we receive the Eucharist. So will we leave this building with the directive to go forth to love and serve and heal our neighbor.